And I feel like a lot of agents right now, the reason why they're freaking out is because they don't know their value proposition. They don't know why they should get paid. So how can you confidently have a seller pay you if you can't even explain why you deserve it?
If you're a realtor that wants to get more listings, you are probably doing some research. Maybe you stumbled across this video because you saw the title and you want to know exactly what are these different strategies that you can implement in your business to get listings and work with sellers. So today, as you can see, I have an awesome guest, my dear friend, Nicole Espinosa, also known as the Short Sale Queen, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to her YouTube channel, make sure to do so. The link is going to be in the description box below. So with that being said, we're just going to get right to it. But before we start talking about listings, for anyone that's watching that maybe doesn't know who you are, just give us, a brief background.
Yeah. So what I love, thank you for having me, but like what I love about what we do is that we both are so different, right? Like we're completely different niches, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing, right? All the same core principles apply to cold calling, prospecting. And that's why I've decided to do this video with you. But for me, I'm Nicole Espinosa, the Short Sale Queen, and I am in Dallas-Fort Metroplex. We're in 14 states nationwide. We specialize in short sales and working with pre-foreclosures. And we also teach other realtors how to find pre-foreclosures.
Awesome. And obviously, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love to talk about expireds for sale by owners and prospecting after these type of leads, because these are the low-hanging fruit. These are people that are raising their hand and they're saying, hey, I need to sell. I need an agent. So with that being said, let's start with you. Obviously, there's probably agents that are like, I get pre-foreclosure leads, but how do I even tackle them? Because it's a completely different conversation from an expired. So what does your process look like?
Yeah. So with pre-foreclosures, they're motivated, but in a different way. So like yours, like you said, they raise their hand and they're ready to sell, but they just had a terrible experience. With us, working with pre-foreclosures, they are motivated because they have to sell, but they don't want to. So they need us, but they don't want to work with us. So overcoming that objection is the hardest, right? Understanding that this type of seller, you're not working with a rational person. You're working with someone who has a financial hardship, who has come across a situation that they believe that they've gotten it taken care of. So if anyone's ever prospected to pre-foreclosures, that's the number one objective. Like, I got this, I'm good. And getting past that objection, understanding how to talk to them, how to connect with them is truly the hardest part. So for us, we teach, and what I do is I ask questions. I get down to the heart of it. I really take my realtor hat off and I focus on the seller and how to solve the problem. And that's it. And I truly believe this applies to everything. Like, how can we as realtors be problem solvers instead of focusing on transactions?
Exactly.
Because that's it. That's all people care about. And especially if you're just going to be a listing agent, which I know so many of you guys want to focus on, because we always say list to last, all the things. And that's what we both do. I don't work with buyers. Like, I am just focused on sellers. And that's how you do it. No matter what niche, how can you focus on solving their problem? And, it's a done deal.
Yeah. Something that I love about you, and even when we first connected, we've always seen eye to eye on the same things. And one thing that's always been in common is that we're trying to be problem solvers. Because that's the thing that sometimes you guys are you're calling expires for sale by owners, pre-foreclosures. You're going down a script and you're just reading it. You're not listening to what people are saying. You have no idea what their need is, what they're looking to accomplish. So when we're problem solvers, I like to say we're also problem solving maybe sometimes for other agents that don't know how to do their job, because we come across that so often
for transactions.
Yeah. And so, if you're watching this, I highly recommend for you to check out Nicole's channel, because she goes into so much more detail when it comes to pre-foreclosures and short sales, so that you can have a better understanding. Now, when it comes to that specifically, what are some of the mistakes that you see like a traditional agent make when they're trying to get started with pre-foreclosures?
Well, first of all, their approach. So the first 5 seconds is the hardest. And you know that, again, anybody that calls knows the first 5 seconds are so crucial. Like the momentum that you create, are you going to control the conversation, or are you going to be in the hot seat where someone's like interviewing you, essentially? Yeah. And I always say this, the person that asks the questions, they control the conversation. And I'm sure you say the same thing.
Yep.
So if you focus, if you're in a conversation and that person's like, who are you? Who are you with? Why are you calling me? You're not in control anymore. So when I first call, I am, there's a lot of things that we teach in sales, like NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, like the pattern interrupting of like, hey, Loida, and you do that whole thing. So it's less intimidating, all the things. And so I see a lot of realtors, the first thing that they do is say, like, hey, Loida, this is Nicole. I am a real estate agent with blah, blah, blah. And immediately this person's checked out. Mm-hmm. Because in this niche specifically, once you say real estate agent, what do they think? Yeah, my house is not for sale. That's the immediate response. My house isn't for sale. I don't want to sell. I don't want to work with a realtor. You're just trying to make a commission off of me. Like, that's all they're thinking. So you don't even have the chance to even help them or even figure out what's going on because they've already written you off. So that's probably the number one thing I see that realtors do wrong is that they have their realtor hat on. And instead of, like you said, having a conversation, human being to human being, they forget how to do that. And so they go into this like solicitation mode and they're just so focused on qualifying themselves as a realtor that the focus is on them instead of the person and figuring out how to solve their problem.
Exactly. And it's pretty much the same with expireds, with for sale by owners too. But with expireds, many times agents are calling and saying, well, I can sell your home and I'm the best one and I'm the top agent. Instead of listening, like, I'm curious, why do you think your home didn't sell? How did you pick your last agent? Where are you going to be moving to next? And the way that I see it, I want to find out, can I actually help the seller? Because there will be times that I will turn away a seller because I can't help them. Yep. And some of you that are watching this, you need to learn to get better at turning away business that you can't sell because you should not be overpricing a property that you can't sell.
If you can't sell the property, you don't get paid.
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand that. Like, if anything, that makes you look bad. But I see the same thing where agents get so desperate for business that they overpromise and underdeliver. And I'm like, how does that serve you? Because all you did was waste your time. And here's a newsflash. As entrepreneurs, time is the only commodity we have, guys. Yeah. So if you don't treat it like a business and value your time of like, hey, like you said, I need to say no because if I can't get you on the same page, I'm not going to work with you. Yeah. Like, and it doesn't matter if it's expired or foreclosure or whatever. Like, you need to understand your value of like, I need to respect my time because if you're taking my time, that means it's not only am I not going to make money, but it's actually costing me money because now I could be making income working with someone that I actually could sell their property.
Exactly. And, one of my favorite objections that I get over the phone is when someone says, oh, well, I can't promise you anything, or I don't know if I'm going to sign with you. And I like to say, well, Mrs. Seller, at the end of the day, I'm not even sure if we're a good fit for each other because it might not make sense for us to work together. So it's completely fine. And then that throws them off because they see, okay, this girl's not desperate. Right. Everybody else will be like, no, it's okay. So
the best analogy to your point, the best analogy I've ever heard when it comes to prospecting is like, it's like dating. So like the person that's super desperate and super whatever, you're like, oh, immediately you're like, back off. But when you kind of have like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, people are like, okay, let me see. Like, I thought that was the best analogy to what you're saying because that desperate feeling, I've got commission breath, like people can feel that. People can feel when you're not being authentic. Like, absolutely. They can smell it, every time.
Yeah. It reminds me of this one scenario. One time I went on a for sale by owner appointment. And the seller was adamant about paying 4% only. And I don't take discounted, listings. So I'm like 6%, this is what it is. And I felt like I was objection handling for 40 minutes. I took one of our team members with me. And when we left, he was like, "Who, Loida, the last thing you just didn't tell us was that he was stupid pretty much because, he made how I scared." And I'm like, the way that I see it, and sometimes depending on who it is, obviously, my goal is if I'm meeting with the seller and it's clear that it's a listing appointment and a decision is going to be made, I don't want to leave without a contract signed. Right?
You can't still have all your everything, like your power, your motivation, all of that.
So, because I know if I leave and that contract's not signed, like my chances of getting it, I'll just forget about it. Like I can't count on it. So anyway, I left that listing appointment. I was happy. I was like, I did everything that I could. If I didn't get it, nobody's going to get this. And then the seller was like, yeah, I'm only going to pay 4%. So I said, you know what? I left. And I said, I have this agent friend that I don't know do it for 4%. So I was like, hey, do you want this listing for 4%? Because in my head, I'm like, well, I'll just refer it out and I'll get a commission, a referral fee. So I told the seller, I texted the seller and I said, you know what? I have an agent that will do it for 4%. This is someone I know. Go ahead and give him a call. Long story short, about a month later, that seller texted me back and he was like, hey, Loida, if you're still up for it, I would love for you to sell my house, full commission. And I'm like, there you go. I demonstrated my value. I didn't come down to, 4%. And he saw that clearly out of everyone that he talked to, I was still the best agent. So it just goes back. If you know what you're worth and the value that you bring, you're okay with walking away from someone that doesn't see the value. And when they do, they're going to come back to you. And that was a deal. Ended up selling it. Also found a buyer for it. And everybody was happy.
And you had the full 6%, even better. But that's still powerful. Like, if you guys didn't pick up on that, it's such a powerful move because she's so confident that she's like, okay. And I love what you said earlier. You're like, I'm not even sure if you're a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not even sure if I want to work with you.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful because now you're showing them, like, it really opens, it's really to their subconscious of where they think like, oh, well, let me see if I can play games. And you're like, no, I'm serious. But also, if you can't even negotiate for yourself, how can you give them confidence that you can negotiate for them?
Exactly.
And I say that as an objection handler where I tell them, like, they'll say, oh, other agents, are willing to do it for less. And I said, well, that's great. But that just shows me that they're not very good at what they're doing because they can't even show you what makes them great to pay full price.
Exactly.
Or not full price, but like the standard of whatever, they're supposed to be charging. And I always get the same reaction where they're like, oh, that's true. And I said, look, my percentage is such a small percent compared to what I want to focus on. How can I help your bottom line?
Exactly.
And my process, I want to make sure that you're going to get top dollar. This is how I market. This is how I do this and that. And now I'm shifting the focus from, don't so worry about my couple percent. Yeah, let's focus on making you so much more than that. And that's, you're looking at it the wrong way, and it's so powerful to be able to change their perspective just by what you call objection handling. All you're doing is changing their perspective.
Yeah. And I can say that you'll probably agree. We get better over time just doing this over and over, that it gets to the point that we come up with these lines that, they're not written in a script or somewhere. It's like we're just making all these calls. Like one of the things that I like to say when someone says, that objection that you just mentioned right now, I can't remember which one it was. There's so many. Oh, when they say about the commission, like, oh, well, I know so-and-so will do it for 4%. One of the pattern interrupts that I like to say is like, wow, I've been scared. And then like, what do you mean? It's like, well, 4% really? Like, if they're going that low, like, what are they going to do with anywhere home? Yeah. And then it just sparks curiosity. They're like, oh man, maybe she's not right. Like, is this bad? Yeah. And then that's what I want them to see. Because if not, what some agents end up doing is that they say, oh, okay, well, you know what? I'll do it for 4.5 or I'll do it for 3 instead of like demonstrating your value. So, I feel like we can talk about this for hours.
I actually go another direction where anybody that's ever, first of all, there's not many people that ever question, right? Like we structure the deals. So they're just so grateful to us that they don't ever question.
Yeah.
The one person that did, it was $1 million house. And this guy was such a pain in the butt. He was my worst client I've ever had in my entire career. He went through 30-something agents. Oh, wow. 30-something agents. And he was referred to me. So it's not like I was marketing to him. And we went through this whole thing. He gave me this list of demands. And at the end of the day, he was like, I'm not willing to do this. You got to do this, blah, blah. And I said, well, and then he says, oh, and is your fee negotiable? And I was like, actually, I charge a lot more. So I'll say, because commissions are not standard. But I was like, usually I charge 7 to 8%. And especially with what you're saying, so let me think about whether I want to charge yes this. So I thought, he changed the whole conversation, and he was like, okay, well, if you could do it for 6, yeah. And I was like, exactly. But really, I really want to charge you more. No, I know. He was such a pain in the butt. But in those situations, it really is changing the narrative. And I was like, no, look, I'm going to do this, do this, do this. And then it wasn't even a question anymore.
Exactly.
So that's it. You're just changing their perspective. And I feel like a lot of agents right now, the reason why they're freaking out is because they don't know their value proposition. Mm-hmm. They don't know why they should get paid.
Yeah.
So how can you confidently have a seller pay you if you can't even explain why you deserve it?
Yeah.
And our industry standard has been so low, like the way to get into this industry, that I would have agents that would literally tell us, well, that's what I charge because that's what it is. And I'm like, okay, exactly. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But there's no standard.
No.
Right? You're not going to get paid just to get paid. Like, why? We're now, and this is going to be so great for our industry where now it's going to weed out a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
And it's going to give you the opportunity as a realtor to step up and show the industry, like, look, this is the new standard for realtors. Like, if you have a great realtor, there's so much value in it.
Exactly.
Besides opening doors.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started.
And yeah, I feel like this could be like a 3, 4, or 5 point.
I know. Like, if we want to go that direction with the video, but anyways.
Yeah, but hopefully, as you can see in this conversation, whether you're going after pre-foreclosures, expires for sale by owners, or whoever it is, at the end of the day, you have to have very good communication skills, listening skills, negotiation skills. You have to be very confident also in what you say and how you deliver it, because I'm sure that the way that you delivered this whole scenario to this gentleman, I'd actually charge 8, 9, whatever %. He was like, oh, dang, like, there's no negotiating with this girl. Like, I better just...
Oh, yeah. And what you said earlier where you're like, oh, I'm scared, or I have a friend. He said something he's like, well, I have a realtor right now that can sell it for hire or whatever. And I said, you should really hire them.
Yeah.
Because that's who you should go with. Because if they have someone that's interested, because he also wanted to overprice it. I was like, oh, no, we're not playing this game. And I was like, but you've already tried with so many other people. This is why you're here.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you should absolutely do that. I was like, whether I leave here with the listing or not, I could honestly care less. You're referred to me. Like, I'm willing to help you because you're the one that needs it sold, but I'm not going to sleep over it. And he was so off-put by the whole conversation. He was just like, okay, if you could do it for 6%, that'd be great. Yeah, I was like, I'll think about it. I'll let you know.
And I think because of all of the experience we have of all these years dealing with stuff like this, it gets to the point now that for me, it's almost like I want them to convince me that I should work with them.
100%.
So,
and even for like the newbies, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people are going to say like, okay, well, because I've had people who are like, well, I don't know how to do it like you. You've been doing it for so long. We literally started the same way.
Yeah.
And we're literally telling you like this, yes, of course, confidence is built. But if you don't start taking action and taking these steps to say no to business that is not going to make sense, to actually build that, you're never going to get there. But everybody's once a beginner. Everyone starts. And we both built this off of taking action and actually applying everything we're telling you. So it's not that we're special. It's just that we've done this and we continue to do it and continue to show up. And that's what makes us better.
And we're not reinventing the wheel. And we're staying focused. A lot of you that are watching this, you're getting distracted. One day you want to do this. One day you want to do that. Then social media, then TikTok, then dancing, all this other stuff. Yes, TikTok dancing. Remember the pointing? No. Work on your skills and your communication, your objection handling, and I guarantee you, once you get that next listing appointment and get that check, you're going to be so motivated to continue to do it. And I promise you, as you start practicing role-playing and working, again, on these skills, it's going to help you take your career to the next level. So, Nicole, as we wrap this up, what is the last thing you want to tell agents to do right now?
Pick up the phone. Like, it's so simple. I think because we said two different things, I think it's really important and super powerful to just get clarity in what you want and why it matters. Like, truly. Because if you want to get into expireds, awesome, stick to that. If you want to do pre-foreclosures, awesome, stick to that. But the bouncing around, like you said, getting distracted, like always chasing the next thing, like that's the reason why you're not creating momentum. So whatever it is you're going to decide to do, just stick to it. Information is not the problem. Loida gives you so much information. I give so much information. YouTube University is a thing for a reason. The application is the majority of the time when realtors come to us and they're like, hey, I want to learn. And I'm like, okay, great. What are you doing? And they're not doing anything. And signing up or watching a video, learning how to do something is not enough. It's not until you take action and you actually are consistent that you're going to create any momentum. So if you didn't hear anything we said, take that and run with it.
And stay consistent. That would be my thing.
Yeah.
Stick to it. Don't do it for 2 weeks and then say it doesn't work. And, going back to what you just said, pick up the phone. People are picking up the phone. So if you're calling, there's going to be people that are going to pick up and they're going to say, you know what, Nicole, it's crazy you're calling me right now. I was just talking about to my husband about selling.
Yep.
So I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of agents think that cold calling is dead and it doesn't work. And I just laugh because there's agents killing it off phones.
Yeah. And I think cold calling is not forever, but in order to develop those skills that we're talking about, this is a part of your education. And like even the people in our community that go through our boot camp, I always tell them, I'm like, stop skipping steps, because this is how you're going to learn how to talk to them so much quicker. You're going to develop these skills quicker. And then once you leverage your time and you actually make money, because if you're not making money, who cares?
Yeah,
truly.
exactly.
Once you make money, then you can leverage your money. Then you can spend money on marketing. Then you can do other things. But start focusing on just creating revenue, and then you can get there. But like one step at a time. I know we said a lot of different things, but like I feel like that should be your main focus.
Yes. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share with someone else. Go and follow Nicole on her YouTube channel. All of the links will be in the description box below, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.